Welcome, friends. Today we are going to discuss a new episode on TTA134. This is a very hot topic right now. With all talk about ethanol and petrol, people are facing issues. We'll discuss what's good about it, what we missed, and why. Let me introduce this to you. The Highway and Transport Ministry or Department. Let's also look at the development they've done in India recently. The development has been very good. Many highways were built. A lot of money was spent. There are big highways and there is safety too. That's the hardware. Land was acquired, bridges were built, flyovers were made, a lot happened. But if the customer gets comfort in the vehicle running on it, they will feel very good. When a new highway is built, it's a lot of fun, but after some time, the construction quality starts to fail, because of which the ride comfort, you said to keep the speed at 120. If the car runs at 120, half the people will break their necks. Why will they break? Now they'll be confused after spending so much money. The government is saying, I have built many highways, better highways than America, but where the car, driver and passenger connect with the road, it's about comfort. Let's talk a bit about that. You all must have noticed, nowadays our trains are being upgraded a lot, and upgrade means you made a good bogie, increase the speed. What is a major reason for increasing the speed? We fixed its rail, its bed, we level it with machines, and the biggest change was that the rail joints overlap like this. Not like this, which used to happen before, where there was a small gap and a click-clack sound came from there. Now the joint overlaps, so there is no sound. So that's a technology upgrade. Now you must have noticed on the highway that as soon as a bridge comes, where there are joints, a click-clack sound comes. It stopped in trains but started in highway cars. Why does it happen? I'll tell you. And why it shouldn't happen, I'll tell you that too. I am showing you this joint, which is an iron joint. It's like this, just like our railway track. It's like this. And the highway joint is also like this. Where is this? This is in the USA. But the joints we have here are like our old railway tracks, those types of joints. A click-clack sound comes there, whether it's a car or a train in the old days. So we didn't use this joint technology at the USA level. And in the USA, this technology wasn't born today. It has been used there since highways started being built 50 years ago. So we didn't pick some technology based on driver comfort and didn't use it. And we built so many highways. The speed is also good. The speed of building is also good. More is being built, but that joy of driving a car today is missing. And here what happens gradually, because of the impact of the click-clack at the joint, the road ahead and behind also breaks. These joints get bigger and the click-clack sound becomes more terrible. Bumps also start to form there. Sometimes the bump is so sharp that it jerks your neck, right? So highways were built, but comfort wasn't given. That last 10% of technology that should have been used, we didn't use it. And the side roads we build next to the flyovers, their maintenance quality is very poor. Now, whose responsibility that is, we don't know. But the water and drainage there are so poor that they break very quickly. You can't drive a car smoothly on that road. This is also a gap in our technology somewhere. Along the side of this road, we have built drainage to drain out the highway's rainwater. But these drains are covered from above. The debris inside already falls during the road construction, or if the cover breaks at the local level, the debris will go inside. So the drain isn't doing its job, right? So the drain is just for show, but it's not working 100%. Because of that, the road breaks because the water isn't draining. So, we have made mistakes in many places here. Similarly, the water that has to flow out of the drain into a nearby canal or wherever there is a slope, in many places, the outlet of that drain is not draining the water out because you left the drain in the middle. This means that even if the drain is pulling water, it will get full. After that, it won't take more water. So, we have left these things in technology at a local level. We didn't pay attention to this. Now we come to our main controversy going on these days, the discussions that are going on which are making the consumer uncomfortable, and that is ethanol. We increased the mixture quantity percentage. We started with E5, then E15 and E10 too. But that period, it wasn't highlighted much and people didn't even know much because the quantity, the ratio was low. As soon as we entered E20, this ratio reached a level where its effect on the engine started showing immediately. Now, I'm not saying this happened 100% because of ethanol. And along with that, we also introduced BS6. When we do BS6, many changes happen in the engine. So, we overlapped two modifications for the consumer at the same time. We gave BS6 and E20 too. Now, what is happening because of this? We will discuss further. A lot is happening because the consumer is worried about what to do. Should I talk about BS6 or E20? Someone pushes me this way, someone pushes me that way. So I'm stuck, right? My car is going to the workshop again and again. Now, the role, the responsibility that the auto industry and transport department had, they didn't fulfill it. Why? How did they not fulfill it? When E5 was started, then E10, whether it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago, its test results were not made public. And many people didn't even know. At the fuel pumps, at all retail points, there was no mention of the percentage of ethanol in it. You didn't keep any system to write or disclose it. No instructions were given. So how would the public know? When E20 came, you started making some noise that we have achieved something great, won a big battle. But when it became known, the combined effect of BS6 plus E20 started turning out negative. Now, how much is E20's contribution and how much is BS6 contribution? The industry will tell us, right? We, the public, won't just trust blindly. And the cars from before BS6, which are the bulk of the population, what to do with them? You are forcing E2O on them too. So that becomes your responsibility. It is the transport department's responsibility to recall those cars and budget for the expenses to fix them, make them compliant for E20. You can't leave the public in the dark. They keep struggling and spending money. Sometimes something happens to the engine, sometimes something else. And at no level is there any effort to educate the customer on this. The time has come to discuss this openly with the customer. All auto dealerships should have a dedicated desk, and since everyone has their phone numbers and emails in the database, educate the customer through that. Whatever kit needs to be made should be at a subsidized rate. There should be no profit in it, no labor charges, and it is your duty to update their car. And there is another responsibility of the auto transport industry that you have left open so far. Although you know everything, no corrective action was taken at the public level. For example, if we open the specification sheet of any car on the computer, or if it's a hard copy, in that for the engine, there is no mention of E20 fuel. Only petrol is written in it. Even today, I bought a car a month ago and its specification sheet says petrol. There is no mention of E20 in the specification sheet. And You keep the same specification in the RTO office in transport. And on its RC2, petrol will be written. Although this fuel is not petrol, it is E20 petrol. So where is your correction? In a way, the transport department is also not understanding its importance. And then the insurance company also treats it the same way. Since petrol is written in your specification sheet, they will also write petrol in their system. Tomorrow, if there is some issue and there is an expense on the engine, the insurance company will say, I have no responsibility, petrol is written here, why are you putting E20 in it? So it becomes a legal issue, right? How far will an ordinary consumer fight in this? I count this 100% as a failure of yours, the transport ministry and the auto industry. They either deliberately didn't educate people or they forgot. They didn't even keep it on their agenda. And ARAI is a central agency associated with the government transport department. They test every car in India and issue a certificate. They do it separately for the engine and separately for the whole car. And when its worthiness is proved, a certificate is issued, then only that vehicle can go into production and then be sold. And only then is its RC made. If that car doesn't pass the test and you produced and sent it, its RC won't be made. Everyone knows that. So why have you kept the ARAI test results secret? Please share them with the public. What fuel average does that car give on petrol? And what average does it give with E20 petrol? Release both figures. In the specification sheet, only the fuel average of petrol is given. The fuel average of E20 petrol is not given. Here too, you have kept it hidden. And what is the effect of E20 on the rest of the engine? What test results are they getting? Is there any difference in horsepower? Is there any difference in acceleration? In the piston chamber, the piston and valve area? Is there a difference in some components? Is there any in its life? And the exhaust parts, the smoke coming out of the engine, what difference is there? And the effect on engine oil, which we are also hearing that moisture forms into it. Moisture means steam will form in the combustion chamber. So it will pass down from the side of the piston and mix into the engine oil. So share all these results, right? Some tests were done by the auto industry, some by ARAI. Everyone is sitting at home with their tests, not talking to the public about it at all. This is wrong. It means you are hiding something. That's what we will think, right? What is the future ready plan? You keep announcing that we will increase ethanol more, make it 100, make it 80. Don't know what all you will do. First, stabilize E20. Win confidence among people. Then only go further. For 2 years, no new fuel should be introduced. Stabilize this, effort will have to be made. This doesn't happen so quickly. By doing 1 or 2 press conferences on YouTube, that information doesn't reach the masses. We have to do it the way we market products. This has to be told repeatedly at multiple points, at retail points, at auto agencies, educate the private workshops, make groups of them. This is the responsibility of the auto industry. And a kit should be made for this, a small kit. Like we used to do for fuel earlier, to give confidence that there is no under measurement. You started a drive that we can go to any petrol pump on any day and measure 5 liters of fuel. That helped a lot. But now, what is the percentage of ethanol? Give us a kit for that, in that like its reading should show what percentage of ethanol is in it. Because anything can happen at the retail point. The retail point is not clean. They want profit. They will add extra ethanol and make it, put E20, say it's 30 and call it E20. How will we the consumers know? And they keep doing all this. In diesel, kerosene is mixed very openly. The oil industry knows. 80% of the warranty claims for fuel injection equipment are rejected by Myco or Bosch due to adulterated fuel. I have been in this industry for 40 years. I know that 90% of my customers' claims are not entertained due to fuel adulteration. Adulteration, how can we the consumers? We don't have any test equipment to prove it.